So, okay. So, module 6 na tayo, no? Texturing 1 and rendering. Okay? So, where usual stick, ito na yan. And then, short cheat sheet of the week, very minimal, no? Very minimal. Wala kayong makikitang bago, anything new, ayan lang, andyan lang, ayan. No? Magagamit natin lahat yan. And then, terms to remember, 3D rendering, render engine, textures, UV maps, and shader graph. Okay? So, texturing and rendering. Now, although not all 3D artists need to render their works in a professional workplace like 3D artists in a game development team, it is still a good skill to have when you make your assets to know if there would be any issues to how light affects the model, as well as how shadows are created using your model. Dito na magkaka-problem yan kapag hindi malinis yung topology nyo. So remember, as I discussed last meeting, na topology is everything when it comes to making your models. Make sure na malinis ang topology nyo, wag halo-halo. So I already seen some submissions back in Activity 3, I think, na kinomentan din ni Sir Joash in regards sa mga pagmimix ng mga iba't ibang topology. May mga naghahalong four-sided polygons o yung quads na tinatawag nga natin. And then may halo-halong three-sided. And then yun nga, meron din tayong encons. No? So that is a big no-no. That's bad practice sa paggawa niya ng mga model. Make sure to stick to one style of topology. Kung quads or four sides, stick to quads. Kung tries, stick to tries. But definitely, as I said last meeting, stick to quads or four-sided polygon topology. No? So maintain natin lahat ng mga faces ng lahat ng mga faces or polyfaces ng object nyo or ng model nyo, maintain natin yung mga four sides or yung four edges. Okay? Yun yung dito na ngayon papasok nga si rendering because kapag meron tayong inconsistency sa mga model natin yun and then nilalagyan na natin ng lights and then nilalagyan na natin ng textures or kulay yung ating mga model, mapapansin nyo na yung mga error nyo, magmumukhang weird na yung itsura ng scene nyo or yung model nyo. So that's why topology is everything before you actually start rendering. Okay? Now, texturing, on the other hand, is a required skill for all 3D artists. By knowing how to edit and add textures to your model, you bring life and color to your assets as well as your scene. Think of it as applying color to your line art, where the line art is your model and the color is the texture. So lahat yan, i-discuss natin ngayon yan, how to render and paano natin bibigyan ng actual textures yung mga model. Well, sa Blender, we've partially discussed that, pero sa 3ds Max, wala pa masyado. No? But, yun di-discuss na natin yan. Now, number one important thing sa rendering natin is, of course, rendering engines. Okay? So, yung rendering engines na yun, before we discuss about that, discuss natin kung ano yung 3D rendering. What is that? Now, 3D rendering is a form of virtual photography. It is a computer graphics process that involves various 3D data, such as the environment, the assets, or yung models natin, as well as lighting and VFX applied to the scene. Now, yung mga 3D render outputs are generally called as CGI in today's media, no? Or computer-generated imagery, and has evolved many times throughout the years, mainly in the movie and animation industry. Minsan na may misconception na tayo na basta tinawag natin CGI, film na kagad yun. Now, that's not entirely true. Basta computer-generated, it's called CGI. Okay? Now, ano naman yung render engines? As of today, render engines varies from software to software and sometimes even used in certain situations or depending on what you need for a project. Yung mga render engines na yun, those are basically the programs or the engines that helps the software run rendering. No? Para makapag-render tayo sa isang software, kinakailangan natin ng render engines, which 3ds Max and Blender have one, of course, naturally. No? Si 3ds Max, we will be discussing yung Arnold. And then for Blender, we will be discussing cycles, okay? So ito na yan. Ito may video ako dito. You can watch this at your own time. This is basically the evolution of CGI, ano? So this is a really fun watch. So I would suggest that you watch this in your own time. Hindi na natin panoorin yan. Masyado matagal to. Okay? So again, back tayo dun sa render engines. So, like I said, 3ds Max, we have Arnold, and then Blender, we have cycles, no? Now, you might say nasa Blender, kapag pinuntahan natin yan, yung default engine yan, kapag nakita nyo na dati, is EV, no? Pero hindi natin gagamitin si EV, gagamitin natin si cycles, okay? So, babalikan ulit natin yan mamaya. Discuss muna natin si cycles, no? Now, si cycles is a ray tracing render engine used in Blender, no? So, very high quality ang magiging outputs nyo dito. This render engine uses ray tracing, no? So, very photorealistic ang mga general outputs nyo dito. Now, it also has a similar output in terms of rendering capabilities to that of Unity. Kung alam nyo yun, Unity is a game engine and first few versions of Unreal. No? So, very powerful si Cycles. No? Very powerful na ray tracing render engine. Now, sa 3ds Max, we have Arnold. No? Arnold, based sa description ni Autodesk, Arnold is an advanced Monte Carlo ray tracing renderer built to stand up to the demands of VFX and animation production. It offers a powerful yet easy-to-use rendering experience that delivers beautiful and predictable results and lets you focus on being creative rather than spending hours going through the render settings. Now, it says here that it is also a ray tracing renderer, but there's actually a very huge difference between the two, no? Because number one, yung render engine ng 3ds Max, which is si Arnold, it's a little bit older, no, compared to cycles ng Blender. Now si Arnold, matagal na yan eh. Matagal na siyang nagagamit sa film because like I said, 3ds Max is an industry standard. So Arnold was definitely one of the oldest rendering engines, no? So it's actually very useful na ngayon din sa mainstream media, no? A perfect example of isang output na nagawa using Arnold is of course si Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, no? So ginamitan nila ginamit nila yung Arnold render engine to basically render out si Groot and then si Rocket Raccoon, no? So basically almost lahat ng CGI elements sa Guardians of the Galaxy ginawa siya sa Arnold. So it's actually really powerful. But of course, Cycles is also powerful as well, but unlike Arnold nga lang, it's not as industry standard. Kasi si Blender currently is not industry standard. But it definitely, personally for me, I like the outputs of Cycles better with the current version of Arnold sa 3ds Max. So it's basically up to you on what you really want to use, no? Makikita nyo naman yung difference yan maya because we will be doing our first renders, no? So that's it. That's basically it. Now, of course, alam na natin yung mga render engines natin. Let's discuss how do we set up our render settings, no? So as usual, unahin ko na muna si 3ds Max. So ito na yun, This is basically my activity 6, no? So mangyayari dyan, open na muna kayo ng kahit anong panibagong file, okay lang. Just make a simple scene na lang muna. Kuha kayo ng plane, kuha kayo ng box. Just make a simple scene. Huwag nyo na munang gamitin yung mga assets nyo. Mamaya na natin gagawin yan, no? So, let's make something simple lang. But for me, gagamitin ko na to. Kasi ito na yung ide-demo ko rin mamaya. So, let's use this one. So, 3ds Max, how do we set up our render engine? Napakadali lang to, no? So up here, we have our menu bar, remember? So dito sa menu bar natin, punta tayo sa rendering. Click natin to. And then punta tayo sa render setup or as the hotkey says here, F10. No? So press lang natin si F10. It will open up this render setup window. Now, since starting 2020 version ng 3ds Max, Arnold was already the default render engine. So by default, Arnold na agad yung render engine nyo. Pero kung hindi, kung let's say scanline pa rin yung nakalagay dito, punta lang tayo dito sa renderer and then click natin to and then select natin si Arnold. Okay? And then let's also make sure nasa pinakababa, let's scroll down, nandito pa rin tayo sa baba. Punta tayo dito sa assign renderer. Let's make sure na Arnold pa rin din yung nakalagay. Okay? Next. Once na clear na natin na everything is all in Arnold, punta naman tayo dito sa Arnold renderer. Na, ito rin, pinaka-important. So, by default, si 3ds Max, it will be using your CPU ng computer nyo to basically render out yung mga outputs nyo, which is okay in most cases, pero I wouldn't highly recommend it kasi makakabawas yan ng lifespan ng computer nyo. So, I would highly suggest kung may available kayo na graphics card or yung tinatawag natin na GPU, let's switch over to that. Now, paano natin gagawin yon? So, punta ngayon tayo dito sa Arnold Renderer. No? Punta tayo dito. Second tab, katabi ng common. And then, let's change muna itong compatibility mode natin from 3ds Max, map support, to Arnold compliant because like I said, Arnold lang yung gagamitin natin dito. Okay? So, once that's set, punta naman tayo ngayon dito sa system. So, select natin yung system. And then, punta tayo dito sa device. Now, dito, ayan, as you can see here, the render device by default is CPU. So, change natin yan to GPU. Guys, ito, you must take note of this. No? Each time that you open a new file sa 3ds Max, automatic siya mag-switch back to CPU. If you want to use your GPU, make sure to double check your render settings before you start the render. Okay? So, select natin si GPU and then yung fallback natin, in case na magka-error yung render engine natin, yung GPU nyo pala, the CPU will continue rendering pa rin. No? Now, by default, dito sa GPU names, ayaw kung bakit sa akin hindi nagpapakita, but dito sa GPU names, automatically magpapakita dyan yung pangalan ng ano mo, na GPU mo. Now, since currently hindi nagpakita sa akin, I'm gonna go here dito sa manual device selection. Now, select ko yan dito. And then, i-enable ko yung graphics card ko, which in my case is an RTX 3050. No? So, this will be different from you guys. No? Depende yan kung ano yung nakalagay dyan, kung ano yung GPU ng computer nyo. So, make sure to enable that one. Okay? So, that's basically it, no? Naka-set up na yung ano natin, yung software natin to basically render our outputs using our GPU, and then if everything fails, magfo-fall back siya sa CPU, which is all good. Now, lastly na lang natin, of course, the most important one here is yung output natin, yung resolution size natin. Ang mga 3D render natin, remember, 3D rendering is a form of virtual photography. So, knowing that, ibig sabihin, ang makukuha natin na output is an image file. So, a PNG or a JPEG. So, that means, ang output size ang magiging important na ano natin dito, helper natin when it comes to deciding what resolution or what aspect ratio we'll be using for our renders. Now, by default, nakaset siya sa HDTV. No? Nakaset siya sa default na 1280 by 720. And then as you can see here, pwede natin palitan siya to 1920 by 1080 or just a 2K or sa 4K. No? So, now, itong take note nyo dito, no? Itong mga resolution natin dito, while yes, these are nice to look at, no? Kasi malalaking resolution, ibig sabihin, malinis yung magiging render natin. It's good practice to always start at the lowest possible resolution muna before you make a final render. Basically using itong 1280 or by 720 or 1920 by 1080. So let's start with something low. So dito, select natin yung output size and then let's set it to custom. Now sa custom, ang default niyan is 640 by 480, which is the lowest resolution that you can possibly get while still maintaining a subpar quality sa render mo. So if we're gonna be doing some test renders, make sure na low resolution na muna kayo. So let's stick with 640 by 480 na muna. Once we are basically done with everything in our scene, nalagyan na natin ng lights, nalagyan na natin ng lahat ng kompletong materials, pwede na natin siya ibalik dun sa HDTV and then saka i-render natin sa gusto natin na resolution. But, like I said, balik na muna tayo dito sa custom. Okay? So, any questions regarding 3ds Max setup? Clear ba tayo? 3ds Max users? May 3ds Max users po ba? 10 lang kayo ngayon. Half of the class is missing, which is very, very unfortunate. No? So, any questions? 3ds Max users? Wala? Wala ba? 3ds Max users? Any questions? Any questions? 3ds Max users, wala ba? Wala bang 3ds Max users dito? I'm guessing the silence means no, okay? So, I'll take that silence as a no. So, diretso na agad tayo sa Blender, okay? So, Blender. Napakadali lang ng ano natin, ng render setup natin. Ano? Now, let's say this is your new file. Wala pa kayong ginagalaw. You just added a plane and then you have your cube. No? Now, of course, gagawin na lang natin, ang usual tradition natin na tatanggalin na natin yung mga default items. So, for now, let's keep it muna. No? Let's just make a simple scene. But for me, I'll be using this one. No? So, gawa muna kayo ng plane or with a cube, kayo bahala. No? Mamaya na muna tayo, mamaya na natin gamitin yung mga assets na nagawa nyo for activity 4 and 5. Okay? Now, to set up your render engine, since we will be using cycles, kailangan natin palitan yung default render engine, which is CEV. So, dito sa properties panel natin, makikita nyo to, itong DSLR na icon, no? Ito, on hover, it says here, render properties or render settings. So, select natin yan, and then you'll see it here, no? You'll see it here. You'll see your render engine here. So, papalitan natin to from render engine to cycles. And then that's basically it. Now, ito, by default, nakaset siya sa CPU. We don't want that, like I said, no? Gamitin natin si GPU. Now, ito rin napansin ko currently kay Blender, I have no idea kung kailan nila binago to, but let's do it na. No? So once na-set natin sa GPU, it's actually not using your GPU yet. No? So kailangan natin sabihin kay Blender na, okay, nakaset na yung device ko to GPU compute, let's just make sure na talagang GPU yung ginagamit natin. So, punta tayo dahil sa menu bar, select natin si Edit, punta tayo kay Preferences, and then dito sa Preferences, punta tayo dito sa System. Now, ayan, currently, gagamitin natin si Cycles. No? It says here, Cycles Render Devices. Now, you have some selections here. No? Again, guys, this will be different from each and every one of you. Depende yan sa magiging GPU nyo. Kung wala kayong GPU, well, sad to say, stuck kayo sa CPU. No? This doesn't really matter at all. Pero kung may GPU kayo, like for example, dito sa laptop ko, meron akong GPU, I'm gonna be using one of these render devices. Now, if you're using an NVIDIA, usually available sa inyo si CUDA and then si Optics. No? Usually, ang go-to ko dito si Optics. For me, it's really fast na render device. So, I'll be using Optics in this case. But like I said, guys, this will be entirely different from each and every one of you. Kung ano yung available nyo dito, yun ang gamitin nyo. Okay? As you can see here, no? Itong HIP and then one API, hindi compatible yung GPU ko dito. So, this might be different from some of you. No? But for me, gagamitin ko tong Optics. No? So, after select ko to si Optics, select ko yung GPU ko, which is this one, my 3050. And then, that's basically it. Yun na yun. Tapos na ang render setup ko. But wait, hindi pa tayo pwede mag-render. Kasi number one, hindi pa natin discuss kung paano yung resolution natin. And then, of course, there's one hidden little thing na mau-overlook nyo definitely. No? Mau-overlook nyo. And magtataka kayo, Sir, bakit po ang tagal mag-render ng ng scene ko? Bakit ang tagal? Low naman, medyo mababa lang naman yung resolution ng ng mga assets ko. So why is it taking so long? Dito na ngayon papasok si sampling. Okay? So si sampling, di ko muna di-discuss to kasi itong sampling sa 3D Ani pa yan. Sa 3D Ani pa yan. Pero dito sa sampling, under cycle siya. No? So sampling, we have two types here. We have viewport and then we have render. Now, usually ang ginagawa ko dito, itong render na to, ito yung pinaka-important. No? So sa render, I usually start with something low, 20. Same goes din sa viewport. So set ko lang yung max samples ng viewport sampling and then render sampling to 20. Now, ang ginagawa kasi nitong sampling na to, it basically cleans up your render. Kasi ang mangyayari dyan sa render natin, minsan may mapapansin tayo na tinatawag natin na film grain. No? So in this current media, tawag natin is film grain. But technically, ang tawag natin doon ay noise. Yung mga tuldok-tuldok sa mga frame natin. No? So definitely, we don't want that. Kaya dito na papasok si sampling. Okay? So like I said, let's stick with something fairly low muna. So 20 and then 20 and then pareho natin i-on yung denoise natin. Okay? So, yun na yan. Yan yung pinaka-setup natin for that. And then, of course, lastly, dun tayo sa resolution or yung yung pinaka-resolution na magiging render nyo. So, punta tayo dito sa output properties, itong printer na icon. Select natin yan. And then, by default, nakaset na siya sa 1920 by 1080. Which, like I said, we don't want that just yet. Not unless na malakas yung computer nyo talaga. But we want 640 by 480 na muna para mababa lang yung render time nyo. And then yun nga, sample renders pa lang naman gagawin natin. No? Hindi muna tayo mag-final render for now. No? So, set natin muna to that. And then, that's basically it. Yan na yung pinaka-setup natin sa Blender. Okay? So, Blender users, any questions so far? Any questions? Naka-follow ba? None. And metal lang po yung available sa akin sa cycles and other devices. Kung ano yung available sa'yo, Gabriel, no? So, kung ano yung available sa'yo, yun ang gamitin mo. But kung sa tingin mo hindi masyadong malakas yung GPU mo, you can stick naman sa CPU mo. Yun nga, no? It has its limitations then, but it's okay na rin naman na, no? Okay rin kasi compare natin si 3ds Max kay Blender, medyo medyo mas light si Blender when it comes to rendering na. So okay lang rin naman kahit stick ka sa CPU. But definitely if you want faster na faster renders sa mga scene mo, definitely use your GPU kung available, kung may GPU yung computer nyo. Okay? So, yan. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, none. So, let's continue. Okay, nakasetup na tayo. We're basically ready to render na eh. Pwede na tayo mag-render, no? So, let's actually start rendering. No? Try natin yung mag-render. No? So, unahin na muna natin si 3ds Max. So, I'm gonna be using this one muna. Gamitin ko na lang to. You can use whatever you want. No? Okay lang kahit wala pa tayong lights. So, sa 3ds Max, ang maganda dito, usually, when you're gonna be rendering something, kailangan mo ng camera. But for 3ds Max, hindi natin kailangan ng camera to even start rendering. While yes, maganda, may camera ka pa rin. But if you just want quick test renders, kahit di ka na maglagay ng camera, okay lang. So let's do that. Now, dito sa viewport ko, I'm just gonna be setting it to an angle that I would like to render. So for example, siguro, ito, I'm gonna be rendering this part now. Granted, wala pa akong kahit anong textures dito, I'll still be rendering this. No? So I'm gonna be using this one. Okay? So now, naset ko na yung angle ko dito to whatever I want. Pupunta ngayon ako dito sa R node. Dito, sa menu bar ulit tayo. Sa menu bar, and then sa R node, and then R node render view. Select natin yan. And then mag-open up tong window natin dito. Now, this is your render window. So each time na naka-open natin to, we can easily render our scene na. Now, you can render this by simply clicking itong play button, no? Click natin yan. And it will be using yung yung current view natin sa viewport to render our scene. Now, currently, since kalilipat ko lang to GPU, it will take a while for a tiny bit, no, for the GPU to be pre-populated and then magre-render. So let's just wait for that. No? Hintayin na natin siya mag-render. Nag-initialize pa lang pala si GPU. No? You'll see it here naman, See, there we go. Nandito siya. And ginagamit niya rendering 640 by 480, which is the one that we set, no? Yan yung set na natin na resolution. And then GPU yung ginagamit natin. And then as you see here, viewport_camera means it is currently using yung viewport camera natin. And then as you can see it here, no? Viewport camera, there we go. So, tayo matagal. Tayo natin yan. Now, usually for something like this, di ba sa render setup natin, when we changed our render device, may nakita kayo doon na pre-populate GPU cache, no? Definitely, you're gonna want to take that. I forgot to mention, no? You're gonna want to click on that and let your GPU pre-populate para hindi nyo na kailangan hintayin to. So that's a bit of my bad at this point. No? But then again, they're going to be almost the same length rin naman. Ano? So it's up to you on if you want to do that. So hintayin ko lang yan. It's still rendering. Ayun, nag-render na siya. So ayan, there we go. Ang bilis lang yan, no? 640 by 480 and then there we go. We have our first render na. And then as you can see here, remember, as I said kanina sa Blender, in regards to sa quote-unquote film grain nga natin, yan na yun, no? Ano notice nyo? Yan na yung noise na tinatawag natin or yung maskong na tawag na sa inyo is film grain, no? So there we go. That is our first render na, no? Hindi natin kinala ng camera, sinet lang natin yung viewport camera natin to the angle that we want to render, and then yun na-render na niya. Now, maganda rin dito kay Arnold Render View na wala si Blender is naka-open tong render window nyo, and then if I just click on play, it's going to keep on rendering, di ba? I-render out niya yan. Now, see what happens when I try to change my angle dito sa viewport. So, change ko lang siya. Ayan, no? Live din siya nag-render, no? So, definitely, kung may dual monitors kayo, well, that's good, no? Nakalit na tong Arnold Render View, nandun lang sa kabilang monitor, no? But this is a really useful tool to have, no? So, there we go. There is your first render. Now, only thing left, really, is to save, no? So, save na lang natin to. Let's say we are satisfied with this render, kahit sobrang basic, walang lighting whatsoever, and of course, textures, wala. Select natin tong si file, and then save natin as image. And then there we go. So save na lang natin. Now, ito lang yung kailangan nyo tandaan dito. Now, when you're going to be saving your renders sa 3ds Max, you're going to have to indicate what file type it is. No? So let's say I'm just going to call it test. And then as you can see here, save as type natin, meron tayong available JPEG, PNG, TGA, TIFF, IF, and then EXR. So mamimili lang kayo dyan. No? You're just going to apply it to the file name. So let's say I'm just going to apply it as a JPEG. So test, and then .jpeg. And then I'm just going to save it. Yun na yun. Tingnan na lang natin kung nasan siya na-save. Nandito siya. Si test. There we go. There is our test render. There's your very first render kung nagfo-follow along kayo. Okay? So, there we go. Now, next, Blender. No? Blender is just as easy. But, compare natin sa 3ds Max, si Blender, kailangan niya ng camera. So, kailangan natin ng camera. So, this is a quick segue na on how to add a camera. So, currently, kung hindi nyo dinelete yung mga default na items dun sa panibagong file nyo, may camera na kayo. Pero kung wala, let's just click on Shift-A. Wait, open ko lang yung shortcut ko. Okay. Okay, so press natin Shift-A. And then, add natin si camera. Ito, si camera. Now, ayan. Pupunta siya dun sa origin natin. And then, ayun na. Ito yung camera natin. There we go. Medyo maliit siya. So, ayan. There is our camera. Now, the question is na lang, paano natin i-set to? No? Medyo mahirap i-set to, no? Kasi liit yan. So, let's use our camera view. No? So, punta tayo sa camera view natin. Now, if you have a numpad, that's good. No? Madali nyo ma-access yung camera view nyo. So, first, select natin tong camera. No? Make sure na yun yung active camera natin. If you have multiple cameras sa scene nyo, malalaman nyo kung ano yung main camera na gagamitin nyo based on dito sa logo natin dito, itong camera icon natin. Now, kapag itong camera icon, itong green na camera icon natin, naka-highlight siya, that means that is the main camera. Yun yung camera na gagamitin when it comes to rendering. So, press natin ng pad 0. Ayan, dyan na siya. Napunta tayo sa camera view. But, kung wala kayong numpad, naka-Mac kayo, I would suggest bumili kayo ng keyboard. No? Joke lang. Pero, yeah, mas mabuting may keyboard kayo because like I said from the start, invest on a numpad. Sobrang useful nun sa Blender. Okay? So, kung wala, select nyo lang to. Itong vintage na camera looking thing na to, na icon. So, toggle nyo lang yan. There we go. Napunta rin tayo sa camera view. Now, gagamitin na lang natin is we're going to move this camera to an angle we want to. So, try natin i-move. So, mag-orbit lang ako. Oops! Ano nangyari? So, nung in-orbit ko, natanggal ako sa camera view, which we don't want that. Kailangan, each time that we're going to move our viewport camera, dapat nagfo-follow along si camera. So, gagawin natin, press natin tong CN to open our sidebar. Then, dito sa view, click natin tong view, and then select natin tong sa view lock na to. You can see here, no? View lock, it says here, camera to view. Ilalock natin yung camera sa viewport camera natin. So, once that's done, balik ko lang sa, close ko lang yung sidebar ko, and then, I'm gonna try and orbit again. And then this time, you'll notice, nagpo-follow along na yung camera sa movements ko. And then I can zoom in, zoom out if I want to, and there we go. Nakakapag-move na tayo ng camera. So yeah, there we go. So we're just going to set the angle I want to. So okay na ako dyan. Once nakaset na yung angle na gusto ko, kung naka-enable pa rin itong camera to view nyo, I would highly suggest you disable that para hindi nyo accidentally nang magagalaw yung camera nyo. Or kung gagamitin nyo pa rin yung camera nyo, kung hindi pa kayo satisfied, you can leave this on and then tanggal na lang kayo sa camera to view nyo by pressing numpad 0 or clicking itong camera view na to again, no? So, exit and enter and exit lang yun, no? So, there we go. I'm just gonna leave it open kasi babaguhin ko pa yan mamaya. Now, once my camera is set, nakaset na siya sa gusto kong angle, i-render ko na lang siya by pressing F12. Now, before I render, guys, make sure na change yun na tong sampling nyo. If you're following along, make sure to change your sampling. Let's set it to 20/20 muna. No, 20 sa viewport, 20 sa render. Okay? And then press natin si F12 to render. And then we're just gonna let it render. And just like this sa 3ds Max, it's going to take a little bit of time to pre-populate. But matagal na naka-pre-populate tong ano ko, kanina pa. So, yan, mabilis na siya. Mabilis siya kabilis, no? And then there we go. There is our render. Now, the problem is, tayong ilaw. No? Blackout apparently dito sa world ko na to. So, that's completely normal. So, mamaya bibigyan na natin yan ng lights. But so far, this is our first render. No? Now, just like 3ds Max, let's also save it. No? So, to save it, once nag-render tayo, i-open up nyo tong render window natin. So, sa render window natin, select natin tong image, and then click natin save. And then dito, let's just save it to where we want it. Let's say, gawin natin test blend, test dash blender. Yan. Now dito, ito yung file format. We have PNG, ito, naka-format natin. We can do bitmap, iris, PNG, JPEG. Pinaka-common lang natin dito is PNG and JPEG. So let's use PNG or JPEG. Gamitin na natin ito si PNG since that's the default. And then, there we go. Di natin kailangan galawin yan. And then save as image natin. And then, let's see our render. There we go. There is our render. Kahit medyo madilim, no? So there we go. There's your first render sa Blender. Are we clear so far? Are we clear so far? 3ds Max, Blender users and 3ds Max users. Are we clear so far? Clear. Okay. So next tayo, no? So next, scene staging. So now nakapag-try na kayo mag-render if I assume kung nagpo-follow kayo. Kung nasubukan nyo na yun, let's try to use our actual assets na. No? Gagamitin ko na tong interior na room ko dito. No? So there we go. Let's use our assets na. Now, notice ko na rin sa mga submissions nyo na good, na mabuti, na separate file ang each assets nyo. That's very good, no? So, knowing that, now knowing na mga separate yung mga files nyo, we can actually append multiple files dito sa scene natin. Now, yung append natin na yon, it's not as good as sa 3ds Max. Kasi sa 3ds Max, meron tayong option na called xref. No? Now, currently, wala akong extra na file na pwedeng magamit dito, but I'll just discuss it on how it works. No? So, dito sa 3ds Max, click tayo dito sa file, And then sa file, punta tayo dito sa, limutan ko na. Ito, dito, sa reference, sa file, and then sa reference, and then dito, xref objects. Select natin yan. Actually, no, not this one. Huwag tong xref objects. Gamitin na lang natin yung xref scene. Xref scene na lang. Okay. So, itong xref scene natin dito, pupunta natin sa add. No? We're just gonna click on add. And then dito, basically, we're going to be adding your 3ds Max files. No? O yung mga asset files nyo. Isa-isa, no? I would highly suggest that you work at this one by one. Try lang ako maghanap kung meron ako. Parang wala yata ako extra file dito sa laptop ko eh. Teka. Ito mga old ko ba ito? May 3ds Max pa ako dito. Ito. Okay, so I'm gonna be using this random item, no? Okay, so ayan, no? This is my xref. So, in-add ko yung file ko na yon. So, itong file ko na to, excuse me. So, this basically adjust yung ano natin dito, yung pinaka object natin dito to fit your scene, no? It's going to be it's not adjusting it fully, no? Ginagamit niya yung original na size niya dun sa original file, no? So, make sure natin dito sa paglagay natin dito sa xref natin dito, nakaset na siya dun sa proper na setup nyo. Para kasi ginagawa natin sa xref, well, technically it is here. It's not actually here, no? Because as you can see, I can't select it. Hindi ko siya ma-select. So technically, it's not really here. Pero part pa rin siya ng data. Masasama pa rin siya sa render, no? As you might see here, i-render ko siya. Arnold render view. And then, render out ko to. Continue, okay? Continue ko lang yan. So, just gonna let it render again. Ayan, you can already see a big difference, no, in terms of render time. Medyo matagal din minsan itong si 3ds Max mag-initialize before it starts rendering compared natin sa Blender. No? So it's gonna take a while for a bit. No? Well, this one is rendering. Malambot na, no? Malambot na, no? Render. Any questions ba? Ako, magka-crash yata 3ds Max ko. So, yan. Kapag if you're using 3ds Max, do be careful din minsan, no? Kasi ito magiging natural na occurrence to for sure sa mga 3ds Max users, no? So, do be careful. So, remember, no? Be careful sa pag-add ng mga too much poly kasi nagta-take into account din kasi yung number of polygons or yung number of geometry ng ano nyo, ng mga objects nyo in terms of render time, no? So, double check nyo yung mga assets nyo before you start importing and exporting your assets, no? So actually, wag na natin itong gamitin, no? Diretso na lang tayo sa import-export, no? Kasi tagal na ito. Mas matagal pa itong xref natin. Okay. Di na nag... Okay, this is bad. Hindi na siya nag, ano? Hindi na siya nag... Ayun. Okay. Okay. So, we're not gonna do that anymore. Cancel out ko na lang itong si xref, no? Huwag na natin gamitin yan. Okay, wait. Tanggalin na lang natin ito. So, remove. Let's just stick with this one. Now, gagawin na lang natin. Gagawin na lang natin. Let's say itong, ano natin, itong mga files natin dito sa 3ds Max, you already have a separate file. Let's just use the basic na import, export, no? So, let's say I want to export this one, no? I-export ko tong share ko na to. Bakit? Ayan. Bakit? Naglolo ko na tong mouse ko. Teka. Naglolo ko na yung mouse ko. Hindi ako makapag-zoom out. Okay. Hindi ako makapag-zoom out. Okay, whatever. So, yan. Currently, let's use this. No? I-export ko tong sofa chair ko na to. So, saselect ko lang lahat ng objects na yan na in relation dun sa object ko na to. So, I'm gonna select yung armrest, yung pinaka-main body, and then yung legs, and then yung pinaka-base. So, I have everything selected na, and I'm going to export this, no? So, pupunta ngayon ako dito sa file, and then punta ako sa export. And then I'm going to select export selected. So, this is important. Make sure na export selected ang pipinutin nyo. Kundi lahat yan. Lahat ng mga nasa scene nyo, i-export nyo. So, let's use export selected. Now, dito, pag-open tong window na to, this is basically just a saving, saving na tayo. So, let's just save it. I'm just gonna call it chair. And then, leave it at that. Save as type as by default is FBX. And then, save natin yan. And then may mag-open up pa ng window. This one right here, click lang natin, okay. Wala na tayo kailangan. Pindutin doon, no? And then just let it finish. Okay, tapos na yung rendering natin. Open natin yung file, no? Kasi it's an openable file, no? So open, ito, share, FBX. Dito siya. So open ko lang to. Oops, di siya. Wala pala akong 3D viewer dito. Wala akong 3D viewer. Okay, don't open that as PDF. Well, okay. Hindi siya PDF guys, no? You open nyo yan as as a 3D file, but apparently Windows 11 doesn't have 3D viewer. Bakit? Teka, dapat ko lang para makita natin. Let's just open it. Hanapin lang natin yung 3D viewer. Masyadong matagal. Okay. 3D viewer. 3D viewer. Di nga naka-install. Okay, so install niyo yung 3D viewer kung wala kayo. Usually, kapag Windows 10 kayo, automatic naman nandyan yan, but apparently Windows 11 does not. So I'm just gonna let that install na lang, no? So 3D viewer, and then para makita natin yan. Now, let's say nakakita na natin siya, no? I-export na natin siya sa panibagong file natin. So let's just, let's just import it dito ulit, no? So import natin siya. So, to import, so we have our FBX na, nakuha na natin yung asset natin. Punta kayo tayo sa file, and then import natin, and then import. Okay? And then hanapin nyo na lang yung ginawa nyo na file. Don't mind the Adobe Acrobat document na yon. That should be an FBX. No? So click natin OK. And then let's just wait for it to load. But hindi nagpakita. Saan yung chair? Saan yung chair na yun? Di siya nag-read kasi chair siya. Okay, teka, ulitin ko to. Naging Acrobat kasi. Ano ba yan? Teka, ulitin natin yung export natin. Naging Acrobat Reader kasi. Yan, select natin to again. And then file, export selected. And then type natin sofa chair. Then save. Then that's type natin to, and then click OK. And then it should be there, no? Bakit PDF ka pa rin? At PDF pa rin to. Teka, bakit naging ano nangyari? Ayun. Okay, konting technical difficulties. Konting technical difficulties. Okay. So yun, okay na. Okay na. So, should be an FBX. Ano ba yan? Nag-update pa rin. Tayin lang natin. No? Ayan, there we go. So, 3D viewer. Ayan, nandiyan na yan. Yun yung model natin, no? Yun yung asset ko dito. So, there we go. No? So, click natin X. And then, punta tayo sa 3ds Max ulit. And then, let's import it. Also, I forgot to mention, right? I forgot to mention, no? Before you export nga pala, before you export, if you have modifiers dito sa ano nyo, sa model nyo, I would highly suggest to convert everything to an editable poly muna. So you might notice here, no? Notice nyo, smoothen out tong sofa chair ko. But dito sa sofa chair na model ko dito na na-export, hindi siya smooth, no? Ayan, no? Notice nyo, hindi siya smooth, no? So you're gonna have to apply it first, no? I-apply na natin yan by simply selecting the objects, and then co-convert natin lahat sila to an editable poly. So right-click, convert to editable poly. Okay na yan. Now, then pwede natin i-export ulit. No? Pwede ko na i-export, let's just import yung nakuha natin kanina. So import, import, and then select natin yung sofa chair. And then click natin OK. Tayo lang natin siya mag-load. Load. Hindi pa rin siya nagpakita. Bakit? Bakit hindi siya nagpakita? Okay, ba't nagbo-bug out ka na? Sige, kuha tayo ng bago. Nagbo-bug out na yata ano ko, 3ds Max ko. Hindi siya nagpapakita. File. Yan na. Nag-crash na. So, mamaya na sa 3ds Max. Blender na muna, no? So, sa Blender, ganun din. Same process lang rin naman, ano? So, select nyo lang yung mga objects na i-export nyo. Select natin yan. And then, click on File. And then, export natin siya to an FBX. Select natin yan. And then, let's just leave it at that, no? At title, no? Export natin yan. Wala nyo na kailangan, ang isaselect nyo pala also, limit to selected objects, no? So, make sure yung mga sinelect lang natin yung kukunin niya. So, make sure enable nyo tong selected objects. And then, click natin export FBX. Export natin yan. And then, ayan. So, ayan, dito sa untitled, ayan, no? So, yeah, there we go. Nandiyan na yung, ano natin, yung in-export natin. So, yeah. Then, once naka-export na tayo, of course, import natin. So, file, like sa import, import natin as FBX. And then, hanapin lang natin yung sofa chair na yun. Saan na yun? Saan ba yun? Ayun, maliit siya. Ayun, no? So, ito na yun. Automatic siyang mag-i-spawn dun sa origin natin, yung red and white na cursor natin na yun. So, yun, no? Doon siya. Doon na siya. No? You're gonna have to rescale it siguro minsan. So, double check na lang. No? So, yeah, there we go. There is our imported assets. No? Clear tayo? Clear tayo dun so far. Itong 3ds Max na to problemado 3ds Max. But I think you get the guess naman ano, sa mga 3ds Max users dito. Blender users, clear tayo doon on how to import your assets, your created assets, I mean. O, sa ano naman, sa kung sa Blender yan, again, i-ano nyo yun actually, no, kahit okay lang naman din, kung Blender to Blender pa rin naman, it's okay kahit hindi nyo na i-apply yung ano nyo, yung mga modifiers nyo, di ba, may modifiers dito. Let's say, say, bigyan natin subdivision, no? And then, hindi nyo na siya kailangan i-apply. No? No need to apply it anymore kasi Blender to Blender pa rin naman yun. So, mababasa pa rin yun. Pero kung hindi niya binasa, well, uulitin nyo lang naman Madali lang naman siya. Modifiers lang naman yun. So, there we go. Import nyo na yung mga assets nyo, build up your interior room na. No? I-build up nyo na yung interior room nyo. So, you're gonna make something like this. No? This will, of course, yours will be different. No? Depende yan sa theme na gagawin nyo sa interior nyo. Mine is just a basic na interior room and ganito pa rin siya. Okay. So, punta tayo sa file and then import natin. Ayaw pa rin ba yung mag-import? title. Okay. Ayun, there we go. Nag-import na siya. No? So there we go. Ganun naman yun. Ganun lang siya. Import and export. It's super basic. No? So yeah, there we go. So clear tayo on how importing goes. Everyone, Blender users, 3ds Max users. Clear tayo? Clear ba? As a producer po, kailangan ko pa po mag-install ng available na 3D model. No need naman na. No need naman na siya, no, Gabriel, no? Kasi automatic naman na siya FBX file na yun. Ang option lang naman yung 3D viewer kung gusto niyo lang naman makita siya sa ano nyo, dito sa desktop nyo without opening a 3D software. That's just an option, no? So hindi mo need yun, no? Pwede diretso mo na import yun sa 3D software mo. This is just an option. I don't think Mac has this? I don't think so. Pero kung meron, well, good, no? At least may something nice ka na pwede mong tingnan sa desktop mo lang. No need na to. No, no need na tong 3D viewer na to. Okay? All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Ano ko lang to. Any other questions? Blender users? Questions? Any other questions? Balik ko lang yung ano ko dito, yung living room ko. Not so far. Okay, so let us move on. So next natin is adding lights and camera, which is probably the most important one here. Kasi without lights or without the camera, you're not gonna have a good time rendering your scenes, no? So, unahin na natin si 3ds Max again, no? 3ds Max, para tayong mag-add ng camera. Now, here's one unique thing kay 3ds Max na wala si Blender, no? So, first, gawin natin yung ginagawa natin kanina. I-set na natin yung viewport camera natin to an angle that we want to render. So, let's use this one, no? Gagamitin ko to. I'm gonna be using this one. So, adjust ko lang to. Okay, this looks good. So, now na gusto ko tong angle ko na to, ang pwede kong gawin is I'm going to press Control C. Control C. And then you notice, may nadagdagan tayo ng camera. Isang physical camera and then physical camera to target. Don't mind this. No? This should be physical camera 1 lang. But for me, kasi meron na additional camera kanina. So, this will be your physical camera. And then as you can see here, kung makikita nyo, dito sa top left corner, nagpalit siya from perspective to physical camera. Phys camera. Yan. And then, we can press P again to go to perspective. Di na natin kailangan galawin yan. Let's leave it at that. I-freeze na natin yan. Ano? So dito sa outliner natin, click natin si freeze. Hindi na natin kailangan galawin yan. So let's say satisfied tayo dyan sa angle na yan. Then, let's go to Arnold and then Arnold render view. And then let's render it out once again. Naka 1280 by 720 na ako. And CPU na naman ako. Hindi ko napapalitan. Okay? So, and as I said kanina, diba? No, each time that you open a new file, automatic siya magre-revert back to CPU when it comes to the rendering device. Now, after ma-render na natin yung scene natin, itong viewport camera nyo, manonotice nyo na dito na siya, si physical camera. We can set it to phys camera O2 para makita natin na always nasa physical camera. So no matter how much we move our viewport, nandun pa rin. Nandun pa rin yung camera natin. Nandito pa rin yung shot natin. So, it's locking it already. So, let's maintain it at that. Okay? Now, nagawa na natin yung camera. Let us add our lights. Okay? So, lights, medyo complicated tong lights natin eh. Di wala tayong masyadong thorough discussion dito. Don't worry guys, I'll be giving you an extended discussion pero hindi natin gagawin to sa actual class na natin. I'm going to be sharing you my MM3DMOD discussions for advanced lighting na. No? So please refer to that for more additional tips and tricks sa lighting natin. So that's basically advanced na yan sa inyo. Magiging advanced na lessons ko na yan sa inyo for 3D Ani. But for now, we're gonna be using basic Arnold lights. No? So dito sa create tab natin, punta tayo sa third icon, itong light bulb. And then by default, nakalagay siya sa photometric. Let's set it to Arnold. And then let's create an Arnold light. Okay? Now, here's one thing that you might want to do as well. No? Currently, nasa standard yung shading natin. Medyo garbage tingnan. No? So, gawin natin high quality. No? So, dito sa top left corner, manotice nyo itong standard. So, click natin to. And then, let's set it to high quality. And then, notice nyo, ayan, no? Kita na natin yung light natin. Now, do take note, guys. No? This is not the actual render. No? This is just a calculation. No? This is just a prediction kung ano yung current itsura niya. Depende sa lighting sa scene nyo. So I'm going to be using this one. I'm going to be using this one pa rin. And then what I'm going to do next is, lagay ko siguro dito para ano siya, outer light. So, outer light to. Para meron tayong konting, may konting dramatic effect tayo. And then siguro, maglagay pa ako ng isa pang light, kuha pa ako ng isang Arnold light, click ulit to. And then I'm going to create another one. And then I'm just going to have it shine dito sa bandang taas. This will be my, like a top light. So, yeah, there we go. Now we have proper lighting. Now we just need to change yung parameters nito. Now for now, dito sa ano ko dito, okay naman na ako dito. Papalitan ko lang siguro to. I want this one to be a little bit brighter. So, saselect ko tong Arnold light ko na to. And then, punta ako sa Modify tab. So, okay? And then, as you can see here, ito na yung mga parameters natin. Now, by default, yung light type niya is a quad. No? And then, you have multiple selections. Pero usually, ang magagamit nyo na lang talaga dito is point, spot, and quad. Yun lang halos magagamit nyo really dito. So, gamitin natin si point. Ayan, notice nyo si point. Omnidirectional siya. Pero, ano siya, it works as more like an orb of light. No? As you can see here, right there. And then si spotlight, which is pretty obvious naman na kung ano yung spotlight. And may spotlight siya doon. And then yung ginagamit natin kanina is a quad light or an area light. Let's use quad light for now. Gamitin na muna natin yan. And then, let's see how it currently looks. Now, ito ang hotkey natin to go back to our camera view and exit camera view is C. C for camera. So, click natin C. Yan. Ito. Okay. So, yeah, there we go. Nakabalik tayo sa physical camera. Currently, okay, it looks nice. It looks good. So, tingnan naman natin siya sa render. So, balik tayo sa perspective view. Press natin si P. And punta tayo sa Arnold render view para hindi natin magalaw yung camera natin. Exit out tayo sa camera view if we're not gonna be using it. And then Arnold render view. And then let's click on render. Tingnan natin kung ano itsura. Okay, there we go. Now, meron na tayong lighting. No? But, as I said kanina, hindi siya accurate dun sa current na nakikita natin. Kasi, this one is just an estimation. So, that means, kailangan natin i-change to a bit. No? So, let's just pause this one for now. So, minimize ko ito. Lagi ko na dito. And then, tayo pa sa dito sa gilid. And then, let's change up yung parameters ng lighting natin dito. So, ang top light ko is itong Arnold Light 2. And then, taasan ko lang yung intensity para makita natin yung change. No? So, ayan. Notice nyo? Significant change already. Big change already. So, intensity, tinataasan lang natin yan. Let's say, gawin natin 10. Ayan, lakas na siya. No? So, yeah, there we go. We already have lighting for ourselves. Now, do take note when it comes to lighting sa 3D softwares natin, it closely resembles how lighting normally works sa photography. So, maganda kung may kung may experience kayo sa sa photography, alam niyo yung mga basic 3-point lighting, magagamit niyo yung knowledge na yun and apply it to your scene. Okay? So, there we go. That is how you add lights and how you add your camera. Like I said, guys, hindi pa ito yung full na discussion natin sa lights. Actually, ito na yung pinaka-discussion natin as far as I can go sa 3D mod. But like I said, I'll be sharing an advanced lighting discussion na recording sa 3D Ani classes ko. I-share ko siya mamayang gabi. So please refer to that again if you want more lessons in regards sa lighting. Okay? Okay. So, that's basically it, no? That's basically it for our 3ds Max escapades in terms of lighting and cameras. Now, dito sa Blender, probably nagawa nyo na, no? Nagawa nyo na siya. So, Shift A tayo. Shift A. And then, add tayo ng light. Let's make a light. And then, dito siya. Now, by default, I would highly suggest na tanggalin nyo yung default light na ano natin sa bagong file nyo. I would highly suggest removing that and create a new one. Kasi minsan, nagbabug out yung ano natin na yun, yung default light na yun. So, once we created our our light, okay lang yan kahit anong light gamitin nyo, interchangeable naman lahat yan. Just like Arnold light, no? Interchangeable siya. So, punta tayo dito sa object data properties while the light is selected. And as you can see here, yan na, papalitan na siya. Gusto nyo gawing sun, pwedeng-pwede. Kung gusto nyo gawing spot or area light, pwedeng-pwede, no? Pero, currently, hindi natin nakikita. Now, ito, dito na papasok si rendered mode, no? Si rendered mode sa viewport natin. So, press natin and hold C. And then, hover tayo dito sa rendered. And then, let go lang tayo. Let go lang natin yung Z. And then, you'll see here, ayan, nasa rendered mode tayo. Now, I would highly suggest doing this, guys, kung hindi masyadong malakas yung computer nyo. No? Kasi nagpapabigat lang rin to sa ano nyo, sa memory capacity ng computer nyo. Kasi more data to process dahil itong render mode, it's already rendering it without actually fully rendering your scene. No? Makikita lang natin yung buong scene natin as a rendered view. So, there we go. So, palitan lang natin yung power ng point light na to. Gawin natin 1,000, which is the default one. Hindi pa siya masyadong malakas, no? Ba natin. Ayan, masyado pang mahina. So, lakasan pa natin. 10,000. Tansyahan na lang naman yan, guys. Tansyahan na lang yan. Depende sa scene. But there we go, no? Palitan natin. Gawin natin sun. Okay, so there we go. We have a powerful sun. Gawin natin 200. Masyadong malakas. Gawin natin 100. Parang malakas. 10. Ayun. So we have a nice bit of light dito sa scene natin, no? So there we go. Punta tayo sa ano natin, sa camera view. And then let's just adjust it once again. Palitan na natin ito to 1280 by 720 para maganda-ganda na tingnan. No? And kaya naman ang computer ko. So 1280 by 720. So yan. Higher resolution na tayo. And then press natin F12 to render. And let's just wait for it to render. There we go. Ayan na. Naka-render na tayo. May ilaw na. May shadows yung scene natin. It's all good. No? So there we go. That is how you add lights. Yung camera, na-discuss na natin yan kanina on how we can add a camera. So, ano natin yan? Madali na lang yun. Teka. Excuse me guys. Excuse me for a bit. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so there we go. Na-render na natin yan. And then we can just click on image and then save na natin yun. So, there we go. Nakapag-render na tayo, nakapag-add na tayo ng basic lighting, no? Of course, lighting, it's a bit subjective sa iba-iba. So, magkakaiba tayo dyan on how we want to light our scenes, no? You can use real-world applications. You can do whatever lighting setup that you want, no? Of course, be mindful din, no? Ang pinaka-goal natin sa 3D rendering is either get realistic results or something new, no? But syempre may konting ruling din tayo sa mga lighting na yon, no? Make it appropriate, no? Medyo magandang tingnan, no? Yun ang pinaka-important doon. Wag lang basta add ng light sa scene nyo and then just render it and call it a day. Don't be like that. Be creative on how you light your setup. I mean, as much as I would love to teach you, it can't actually be taught kasi it's more on experience na yan. No? Experience na yung magiging teacher nyo on how you can properly light up your scene. Okay? Kasi magkakaiba tayo ng mga scenes talaga. No? So, there we go. That is how you add lights on camera. Any questions? Any questions so far? Yung next na topic na natin will be the last one for the day. No? So, any questions? Any questions? Not so far. Okay. So, ang last topic natin is adding textures, no? Which is the most important one right now. No? Kasi without textures, your models are basically useless, no? So, lagyan natin siya ng textures now. Ang textures na yan, saan tayo makakahanap, no? So, ang textures, you can find them all over the internet. Now, ito yung mga suggestions ko. This one is called Polyhaven. I'll be writing this in the link. I'll be pasting the link here. And then lastly is MD6. Now, ito, napapansin nyo na siguro, no? The public 3D asset library. And then as you can see here, my HDRIs, my textures, and my models. You are not allowed to touch the models, guys. Huwag nyo nang i-download din yung add-on. No? This is strictly forbidden, okay? Ang pwede nyo lang i-access dito are textures, HDRIs. Same goes dito sa ambient CG. So sa Polyhaven, let's just browse the textures, no? Browse textures tayo. And then sa ambient CG, punta tayo sa materials, no? Click natin yung materials. There we go, ayan, no? Ang laki ng selection natin ng mga textures. Mamimili na lang tayo kung ano yung sa tingin nyo magmamatch sa mga object nyo or dun sa scene nyo. Okay? So, I already have a bunch of textures already. I-demo ko lang sa inyo on how you can download. So, let's say, I want this one. Let's say I want this one, Japanese stone wall. So, select ko yan. Dito tayo sa Polyhaven, no? And then we have this one, no? Now, ang isa-select nyo dito is ito, resolution natin. We have 1K, 2K, 4K, and 8K. Guys, you do not need 4K resolution na textures. You're never going to need that. Not unless not unless kaya ng computer nyo. Kasi textures, mga downloaded textures, they also affect render time, no? So the higher the resolution, of course, the more render time ang kailangan na ibigay ang device nyo. No? So, stick to 1K to 2K. No? Pinaka-maximum nyo na yung 2K. Pero kung confident kayo talaga sa computer nyo, sure, go. Why not? 4K, 8K, no? But do be careful talaga, no? Kasi dadagdag yung render time nyo. So, let's just for now select 1K and then change natin to. Make sure nasa zip yan kasi ang iyan natin dito is yung natin dito. Isa-select lang natin dito is yung mga mga metal natin dito, no? But you can diretsong download natin. Ang pinaka-important lang natin dito is yung mga texture files, yung mga image files na kasama dito. No? Yung mga image files, that's about it. No? So, once that's done, you're gonna get something like this. No? Once na-download nyo na yan, na-unzip nyo na yung file nyo na yon, you're gonna get something like this. Ayan, no? Dito. So, I already have some here. Itong fabric ko na to. Ayaw magpakita yung yung image. But yeah, there we go, no? So, you're gonna see these image na textures, no? So, itong mga images na yun, these are your texture sets, no? Ang textures natin, hindi lang siya one file, it's multiple, no? I mean, sure, pwedeng one file lang rin yan kapag pumunta lang kayo sa Google Images and then doon kayo naghanap. Definitely, isang file lang yung makukuha nyo. But definitely, guys, if you want the best result in visualizing your texture, download the whole texture set. So usually, apologies everyone, na-disconnect ako. Agal na dito. Wi-Fi sa SDA. I'm sorry guys, na-disconnect ako. Saan ako Saan ako nahuli? Where did I leave things at? Na-disconnect ako eh. Can someone tell me? Saan ako natigil? Na-disconnect ako. Ano yung dinidiscuss ko? Hindi ko napansin, na-disconnect na pala ako. Sa file ng textures, okay, file ng textures, okay, good. Hindi naman pala masyadong na wala. Okay, so yun nga, sa mga files ng textures, usually ganyan na makikita nyo. No? Now, again, depende to sa mga textures natin. Depende yan sa mga dinownload nyo textures. Pwede magkakaiba-iba yan. But the main common denominator dito is, number 1, itong si color. Second, itong si normal. And then third, itong si roughness. Itong big three na yan na yung pinaka-important na textures. No? Itong tatlo na to, it's basically, yun na yung pinaka-important talaga. Yun lang talaga halos pinaka-kailangan nyo. Okay? So, there we go. So, exit out na natin yan. And let's apply it dun sa scene natin. No? Alright. So, apply na natin sa scene. No? Now, already, alam naman natin on how we can change our colors. No? Diba? By simply clicking tong color palette and then we can change our colors. But definitely, that's not what we want. Na-record ba? Okay, na-record ako. So, let's say, gusto ko itong texture na to. Bigyan ko to ng texture. Balik na muna ako to standard para hindi masyadong nakaka-bother yung ilaw. Okay? So, lalagyan natin ng texture tong cushion na to. So, I'm going to press M to open my material editor. Dito sa 3ds Max, it's gonna open tong slate material editor. Now, dito sa gilid, meron tayong mga materials. So, gamitin natin tong si physical material. Drag natin siya dito. And then, let's rename this one. Guys, ito pinaka-important. I-rename nyo yung mga materials nyo para hindi kayo malito. So, I'm going to rename this one cushion. And then yun nga, kung kailangan nyo mag-reuse ng mga materials, at least alam nyo kung ano yung material na yun. So yeah, there we go. I named it cushion. And then, i-apply ko na yung texture na gusto ko dito. So, open up ko lang yung folder ko with my textures. So, hanapin ko lang. Ano ba yung texture na ginamit ko dito na hindi ko na matandaan. Ito ba yun? Parang lighter color yun eh. Ito nga ito. So, I'm gonna be using this one. Ang gagawin ko na lang, like I said, ang pinakailangan ko lang dito is color, normal, and then yung roughness. So, drag ko lang tong si color muna, yung fabric color ko, or in some terms, it's the base color, or the albedo, or diffuse color. And then next is yung normal. Double check ko lang kung ito ba yun. Ito ba yun? Hindi yata ito yun. Normal GL. Okay, pareho lang naman pala. Okay, so, ang normal nyo, ganito magiging itsura niyan, ano? So, yan. It should be purple. No? Purple lang siya halos yung pinakakulay niya. And then yung color, this one is basically the main material. Ito yung nagbibigay ng kulay dun sa material. Ito yung kulay ng actual na texture. No? So, yun ang color texture. No? Next natin, lagay natin si normal. Gamitin ko lang itong si normal GL. And then, lastly, itong si roughness. Itong si roughness, this is just a simple black and white na texture. No? Depende yan sa texture nyo. Okay? So, take note natin yan. Okay? Now, again, good practice to rename your maps din. Not only your materials, i-rename nyo rin yung mga textures nyo. Itong mga texture, itong mga image textures nyo. So, rename natin to. So, map number 1, gamitin natin cushion. And then, let's just rename it as yung fabric, yung actual name nun. So, nakalagay sa akin, fabric 2 dash color. And then this one is yung roughness. Fabric 2 dash roughness. And then itong normal, lagay natin siya sa fabric 2 dash normal. Excuse me. Okay, so kabit na natin siya. So I'm going to maximize this first, no? Maximize ko na muna to. So, kakabit na natin siya dito sa physical material. So, itong color, which is pretty obvious, kakabit natin siya dito sa base color map. Simple click and drag lang to guys, no? Simple click and drag. Okay? Now, itong roughness, kakabit natin siya dito sa roughness map. And then next, si normal, ikakabit natin siya dito sa ating bump map. Yan, kabit natin siya dyan. So, yan, there we go. Yan yung pinaka texture natin. Okay naman na kahit hindi natin gamitin yung kanina, yung mga natirang textures doon. Okay na to. No? Sufficient na to. And then next, kakabit na natin siya dito sa cushion natin by simply clicking and dragging tong circular na node natin dito and then drag natin siya papunta dun sa object na lalagyan natin. But for something like this, normally you wouldn't want that. No? Kasi baka mamaya mamali kayo ng drag and drop. No? Or yun nga, bigla kayong mag-lag na mali kayo ng lagay. So, ang gagawin nyo, select nyo muna yung object na ilalagay nyo yung texture. And then, dito sa material editor natin, select natin yung material na ilalagay natin, na ikakabit natin. And then, once nakaselect na yan, once both are selected, dito sa taas natin, itong toolbar natin dito sa Slate Material Editor, you can see here, assign material to selection. So, select natin yan. Select natin. There we go. Yun na. Yun na yung texture natin. There we go. May texture na tayo. So, tingnan natin kung ano yung itsura niya. So, press natin si Load Render View. And then, tingnan natin kung ano yung itsura. Ayan, no? Nadagdagan na agad ng detail yung scene natin by simply adding a texture. No? Laking difference na agad, di ba? So, there we go. That's how you add textures. But wait, there's more. Kasi, may konting irregularities tayo nakikita dito sa texture natin. No? So, as you can see here, dito pa lang sa viewport natin, you can see here, this is not normal. No? This is weird. No? Medyo weird siya tingnan. So, anong gagawin natin? Paano natin makaayos to? So, saselect natin yung object natin dito and then punta tayo sa modifiers list. Dito sa modifiers list, hanapin natin si UVW map. So, type in nyo lang UVW. Yun ay yung pinakaunang lalabas. Ito, si UVW map. Select natin yan. Now, currently, currently, it's slowly fixing it, pero hindi niya fully fixed. Now, you're just basically going to select everything here kung ano sa tingin nyo okay siya. No? Now, currently, since itong object ko na to, medyo box type siya, gagamitin ko itong box type. And then, i-adjust ko lang yung mga length, yung width, until it looks normal looking. No? So, ayan, notice yun? I'm just adjusting things. And then yun na. Itsurang seamless na siya. No? So, there we go. Ganun lang siya kadali. That's how easy it is. And then this one, repeat ko na lang to dito. No? I'm just going to repeat that. Press ko si M. This time, i-drag and drop ko na lang siya kasi sanay na ako dyan. There we go. Now, currently, again, it looks irregular. So, lagyan natin siya ng UVW map. Then, and there we go. And then since, again, box type ulit to, gawin natin siyang box. And then, i-adjust lang natin yung mga parameters para mag-fit siya sa ating object. And there we go. Ganun lang siya kadali. There we go. Naka-add na tayong textures. Ganun lang kadali yun. No? So, there we go. That's how you add textures and how you can fix your textures sa 3ds Maps. And then, siguro, gawin na natin to. Mabilis din to. So, panibagong texture tayo, no? So, panibagong texture to. So, gagawin ko para maliit lang yung natin na-occupy yung space na to, i-minimize ko to. Minimize ko yan. Gagawin ko lang, double-click ko lang tong cushion na picture na to para alam ko na, okay, yun yung cushion na material ko. And then, add lang ulit ako ng bagong physical material. I'm just going to pan somewhere to the side and then gawa ulit ako ng physical material. And then this one, gagamitin ko, chair. Chair body. No? This is for the chair body na yan. And then, ikakabit ko na lang yung materials ko. No? Ulit-ulit lang naman yan eh. Ulit-ulit lang yan. And then this one, again, ilagay ko lang yung pinakailangan ko. So, color, and then yung normal, and then of course yung roughness. Now, hindi ko na i-rename to, but definitely for you guys, you might want to rename it para hindi kayo malilito. Okay? I-rename nyo to. So, again, base color. Ilagay natin siya dito sa base color. Roughness. Ilagay natin siya sa roughness. And then si normal. Ilagay natin siya dito sa bump. Okay? So, ayan. There we go. And then, move lang natin siya a bit sa side para may konting space tayo. Ayan. And then, minimize na lang natin to. There we go. We have our second texture. Kakabit na lang natin siya dun sa chair natin. So, again, drop ko lang siya doon. There we go. Now, currently, again, currently, ganun ulit siya, no? Hindi ulit nag-fit dun sa scene. So, gamitin ulit natin si UVW map and then play around dun sa mga possible na mapping natin dito. So, again, since most of the time, box type, okay, magre-resolve din yan eh. So, ayan, no? Na-resolve na agad without even me touching it. So, there we go. Na-resolve na siya kagad. So there we go. That is how you fix and add textures sa 3ds Max. Okay? So next natin, Blender. Now sa Blender, napakadali lang rin. Kasing dali lang rin, ano? So gamitin ulit natin yung ginamit natin dito. No? So we're gonna be using this one. Itong cushion ko na to. So select your object first, and then punta tayo sa Properties panel, and then select natin itong Material Properties, okay? Now, kapag dun sa sa Activity 4 and 5 nyo, nilagyan nyo siya ng material na color, tanggalin natin yan. Gagawa tayo ng bago. So, select nyo yung material na kung may nakalagay ng material, select nyo yun, and then click nyo itong minus. We're gonna make a new one. Then, click natin new, and then let's name it, again, cushion to. There we go. So, there is our cushion. Now, before we do anything else, apply na rin natin siya dito kasi alam natin na cushion din yung gagamitin ito. So, tanggalin ko lang to. Now, ang gagawin ko, since instead of making a new one, I'm going to be using the exact same thing. No? So, dito sa material properties ko, saselect ko itong katabi na to. This is your material list. And ito yung material list natin. And then, I'm just going to select my cushion para alam ko na these two will have the exact same materials. So, gawin na natin yung textures. No? So, once that's done, punta ngayon tayo dito sa shading. Punta tayo sa shading. And then, dito sa shading, extend ko lang to. Mag-a-add tayo ng mag-a-add tayo ng mga nodes. So, ano ko lang to? Wala screencast ko. Okay. Here we go. So, dito sa natin, shader graph natin, make sure naka-hover kayo dito sa shader graph nyo, no? So, Shift-A tayo. Shift-A. And then, search natin, image texture. Or, pinakamadali, pinakamadali is simply drag and drop ulit natin sila. So, drag and drop na lang ulit natin, no? So, textures, hanapin ko lang ulit, fabric 2. And then, hanapin ko lang to si color. Isa-isayin ko lang itong drag and drop. And si color. Then next, si normal. Wait. Si normal. And then si roughness. Roughness. Ayan. Ayan, dyan na sila lahat. No? But, may konting changes tayo dito. No? So, normally, okay lang yan. No? Normally, okay lang yan. Kapit na muna natin kung saan dapat natin ikabit. No? So, color, base color, roughness, lagay natin siya sa roughness. And then, normal natin, lagay natin siya sa normal. But wait, di pa tayo tapos. Kasi, itong roughness natin and then itong normal GL natin, wala naman silang technically na full RGB colors. Wala silang any purpose in terms of color. No? They're just there to support yung main material natin, which is itong color texture natin. So, ang gagawin natin dito kay roughness and then kay normal texture is i-change natin yung color space nila from sRGB to non-color para mag-function sila correctly kapag ni-render na natin. So, yan. There we go. Ganun lang siya kadali. Now, actually, wait. May kulang pa pala tayo. Itong normal natin dito, I forgot, no? Tanggalin natin yan. Kulang pa yan, no? Kulang yan. Kasi itong sa normal natin, may kailangan muna tayong ikabit dito. No? So, Shift-A ulit tayo. Shift-A. Hanapin natin si normal. Normal map. Yan. Select natin normal map. And then, itong normal na texture natin, na image texture natin, kakabit natin siya from color to color. And then, ditong normal map, normal to normal. And then, yun na yun. Ganun lang siya kadali. There we go. But wait, may kulang pa rin tayo. Bakit? Kasi kagaya sa 3ds Max, may problem tayo, which is this one. No? Now dito, medyo wala tayong kagaya kay 3ds Max na UVW map. No? So the only way that we're gonna be able to fix this is to simply unwrap this. No? Meron pa tayong isa pang pwede magamit, which is texture coordinate and mapping. So gamitin din natin yun. So, Shift-A ulit tayo. Shift-A. Texture, type natin texture coordinate. Texture coordinate. And then, Shift-A ulit tayo. Gawa tayo ng mapping. Mapping node. So, yan. Now, gagawin natin, itong mapping node natin, itong vector natin, kukonect natin siya sa mga vector na color, ng roughness, basically everything that's related dun sa texture natin, no? So, roughness, and then dun sa normal natin. Minimize natin to para hindi masyadong nag-take up ng space, no? Minimize natin lahat yan para hindi masyadong masikip itong shader graph ko. Okay? Yan. Oops. Kaya natin siya dito para organize tayo. Now, itong important sa Blender, make sure you're organized dito sa ano nyo, mga textures nyo. Okay? So, this one, itong texture coordinate natin, gagamitin natin itong UV, kukonect natin siya dito sa unang vector. So, usually, this would normally fix it, but apparently, hindi pa. No? Hindi pa siya na-fix. So, we're gonna have to play around with our mapping node. No? As you can see here, no, if I'm moving the location, nagbabago yung location ng mga texture ko, yung tiling niya. No? So, paglalaroan natin yan. Another thing that you can do, instead of UV din, try din natin itong si generated. No? See if it will fix it. No? Okay, so currently, medyo okay na. Medyo okay siya. No? Medyo okay na siya tingnan, but it's still looking stretched. No? So, tingnan lang natin kung ma-fix pa natin yan. No? So, tingnan natin. Pwede siguro sa scale. No? Tingnan natin sa scale. Okay, hindi siya ayaw niya mag-fix, no? So, konting ano tayo dito. Konting tsambahan tayo dito. Normally, it would fix that. But usually, ang mangyayari dito is we're going to unwrap our object. No? So, gagawin natin dito, quick and dirty lang tayo. So, balik tayo dito sa layout. And then, punta tayo sa material preview para makita natin. No? So, select natin itong object natin. And then, punta tayo sa edit mode. So, press natin si tab. Wala tayo sa screencast ko na naman. Okay? So, dito tayo sa tab. Press natin, make sure select natin yung face select by pressing 3. And then press natin si A to select everything. To select every single face sa object na to. No? And then next, what we're gonna do is press natin si U. And then click natin tong Smart UV Project. Tingnan natin kung magre-resolve siya. Okay, medyo hindi pa rin. Now, dito na papasok yung mano-mano tayo. Mano-mano natin ano to. Mano-mano natin babaguhin. So, pupunta ngayon tayo dito sa UV editing na Smart UV project na natin yan. Punta naman tayo dito sa UV editing. Dito na yung medyo hassle. Dito na yung medyo hassle kay Blender. But sanayan lang naman yan. Sanayan lang to. So, focus lang tayo dito. Wala na naman screencast ko. Okay. So, select natin to. And then, let's scale this dito pala. Select natin dito, everything. No? So, make sure nasa face select tayo. Press natin A. Dito ako sa UV editor, no? And then, press natin si S. Try natin i-scale down kung mag-fix siya. No? Punta tayo sa material preview para makita natin. Then, hanapin natin to. No? Actually, ano natin to? Open natin to. Click natin tong parang vice versa na icon para makita natin yung mga items natin dito. And then, mano-mano natin yan i-scale down. Ito yung medyo horrible part dito lang kay Blender. Kasi wala pa tayong parang yung UV map coordinate mo. So, rotate din natin yan. Tingnan natin kung mababago. Wala pa rin. Hindi masyadong nababago, no? So, gawin natin ito. Punta tayo sa color. Hindi pa rin siya, no? Wala pa rin. Hindi siya nag-ano. Change. Sambahan na lang naman yan, no? So, fortunately, ganun talaga. That's the only bad side dito kay Blender. Wala pa tayong UVW map na modifier. So, sadly, ganyan yan. Mano-mano natin ayusin yan. So, there we go. Ganun talaga. There's no easy way to say it, pero yeah. Ganun talaga. So, there we go. Any questions? May questions ba? Again, repeat lang natin siya dito. No? Tingnan natin dito sa sa isang chair, sa main na body. Kuha tayo ng bago. So, patay na bago. This one is going to be named as chair body. And then, punta tayo sa shading. Make sure nakaselect to para makita natin. Wala yung ano ko. Bakit nawawala yung... Now, ngayon, pag may nawawala yung ano natin dito, yung principal BSDF natin, let's say na over-zoom kayo or hindi nyo na makita, punta tayo dito sa view, dito sa may shader graph na natin, editor natin. Punta tayo sa view, and then press natin frame all. Para yan, makita natin yung buong ano natin, material natin. And then, we'll just repeat the exact same thing kanina. Ilagay lang natin yung materials. Ilagay lang pala natin yung textures. So, this one to. Then, color. Normal. Then, roughness. Okay. So, again, repeat na lang natin yung ginawa natin, no? So, color to base color. And then, normal, itong roughness. Kabit natin siya dito sa roughness. Roughness to roughness. And then, normal. If you still remember, kailangan natin ng normal map node. So, Shift A, normal map. And then, kabit natin color ng normal texture sa color ng normal map. And then, normal to normal. Now, next, texture map. Texture coordinate, I mean. Texture coordinate. Texture coordinate. Hanapin natin yan. And then, mapping. Okay. And then, kabit natin itong mga vector. Vector to vector. Also, let's not forget to change yung pala natin, no? Yung color space ng normal and roughness. Do not color. There we go. Okay. And then next, tayo natin sa generated. Okay. Medyo bad pa rin tingnan. So, itong normal UV naman, tingnan natin dito. Let's try everything, no? Para tingnan natin kung masasagot lahat. Masasagot yung issues. Fortunately, ganun talaga, no? The only way to actually really fix this is to unwrap this, no? And kung ganun din man, mano-mano pa rin yun. So, we're forced to deal with this, no? So again, there we go. Okay, this one is looking good, no? So it's a reflection, but it's not that good pa rin, no? So, lagyan natin sa gano'n natin sa UV. Okay na yan. Okay, this looks good naman pala, no? So yeah, there we go. And then, lagyan na natin siya to 1280 okay na pala. So there we go. Ganun lang siya. No? Ganun lang siya. So there we go. Are we clear so far? Are we clear so far ba, guys? Are we clear? Blender users, 3ds Max users, any questions ba? Are there any questions? Are there any questions, guys? Naka-follow ba? Okay, none. Okay. So last na lang natin, last bit na lang tayo. No? There's this one last bit here. So far, none. Okay. So there's this one last bit here. Itong petals natin dito. Now, ito. Let's see. This one is a custom texture of mine. Ako na gumawa nito. No? I made this on my own. Now, notice nyo, once I select a petal, notice nyo, plain siya, no? Plain siya. Kapag punta ako sa solid mode, ganyan siya, oh. So, the question is, paano ko nakuha tong ganitong klaseng texture, no? Now, this one you will be using Photoshop, no? Pero madali lang to, super dali lang siya. So, pakita ko lang sa inyo yung textures na yun. So, yung textures na yun, this is basically it. Now, normally, you're not going to be seeing yung transparency ng mga flower petal na yun, which is this one, you know, itong flower petal. Notice nyo, it's literally just the flower petal and then transparent yung background. Pero kapag tinanggal ko tong isang texture ko na to, notice nyo, ganyan mangyayari. Black yung background. No? So hindi niya nabasa yung transparency. Dito na ngayon papasok tong si alpha map. So, itong si alpha map, kukonect ko siya dito sa alpha. Ayan na. Nagkaroon na tayo ng transparency. So, si alpha map, this is basically it, no? Ito siya. Notice nyo, itong part na to, itong white na to, this was the flower. No? So, kapag gagawin nyo to sa Photoshop, you're basically going to color your main texture or yung basically yung isolated texture nyo to color white. And then the background will be color black. No? Ganun lang siya kadali. No? That's how you can easily make a alpha map. And then once you've done that, you save that, and then lagyan na lang natin siya dito as an image texture, and then kakabit natin siya dito sa alpha, and then yung petal natin, yung yung may transparent na background talaga, kakabit natin siya sa base color. And then lastly, dito sa baba, gagawin natin dito is sa viewport display. Under the viewport display, meron tayong settings. Mananotice nyo itong blend mode. And then set nyo lang siya from opaque to alpha blend. That's how easy it is. Okay? Also, konti pang revisions, no? Kung wala kayong mahanap na magandang texture and then you decide, okay, I'm gonna try to use basic colors na lang. Here's something that you can do then, no? Normally, itong base colors natin, I mean, this is just base colors, no? You can just simply change the base colors. Now, sa natin, ang next natin pag-usapan is itong si metallic. Si metallic, it will basically give you metallic qualities dun sa object na yun. So, punta tayo sa render mode. Yun yung mabuti. No? So, take a look at this texture. No? So, it's still using my petal. No? So, notice nyo, i-zero out ko si metallic. Medyo bland siya, medyo flat. No? But when I max it out, notice nyo, nagiging parang metallic yung feel niya, yung pinaka-texture niya. So, that's what metallic does. Now, itong metallic natin dito, means may counter din kayo na metallic map or tinatawag din natin na metalness map. Dito natin siya ilalagay. Okay? And then next, itong roughness. Now, itong si roughness, kapag binaba natin siya, magiging super reflective yung material nyo. As you can see here, no? Ayan, no? Nagre-reflect siya. But if we try to max it out, nawawala yung reflectivity niya. So that's what roughness does. Okay? And then pwede nyo timpla-timplahin lang yung values. Same lang rin to sa 3ds Max ha. This is basically the same sa 3ds Max lang rin, no? Kasi, di ba? Material editor, we have here itong physical material, we have roughness, ayun no, we have roughness, and then we have, saan yung metallic? Where's the metallic? Saan yung metallic? Ayun, dito, si metalness. Si metalness, ipabump up nyo lang siya to get metallic qualities. Ganun lang siya kadali. Okay? Any questions? Any questions, guys? Any questions? Okay, so kung wala ng questions, that is basically the end of our discussion. I-discuss na lang natin is your activity, which I've already been hinting at, no? So, ang activity natin is interior rendering and 3D poster. So, dalawa yung outputs nyo. So, remember, like I said, guys, you cannot do activity 6 without completing activity 4 and 5. The reason being, kasi isa sa output nyo dito is interior render. So your output 1, you are going to create an interior design using your created furnishings from activity 4 and 5 with a proper interior environment that would suit your furnishings, look, and or theme. Okay? Apply basic UVW maps and textures to your scene, as well as appropriate lighting that will suit your concept. So you're going to be lighting your scene. Bibigyan nyo ng buhay na yung world nyo, yung ginawa nyo na interior design. Okay? And then you're going to be rendering your scene with either the following sizes. So it's either 1280 by 720 or 1920 by 1080. Alam nyo na kung paano yan. Tinuro ko na yan kung paano change yung resolution, no? And then you're going to be submitting your rendered scene with the file name, surname, _act6, rendering 1. So that is your output 1. Your next output is an original 3D poster. It could be anything that you want. Kayo bahala kung ano yung nandun sa 3D poster nyo, basta 3D poster design. So you're going to be applying what you currently know from basic 3D modeling until applying textures and rendering. Okay? So kayo bahala on how you're going to make your 3D poster. I'm going to be showing some samples later, okay? And then next, you're going to be rendering your scene with the resolution or aspect ratio of your own choosing. Kayo bahala kung anong aspect ratio nyo. Kung gusto nyo, pa-long bond paper yung aspect ratio, sure, why not? No? Kayo bahala. And then aside from that, aside from the render, you're also going to be including screenshots of your viewport with the geometry visible. So basically same thing as we did before sa activity 4 and 5, no? And activity 3. Kita dapat namin yung buong yung buong software nyo. Okay, so basically buong software nyo, and then dapat kita namin yung geometry ng scene nyo. So select natin A. As basically, gagawin nyo, select nyo everything sa Blender. Select nyo everything by pressing A. And then, punta tayo sa edit mode. Ganun lang siya. No? And then, let it be in edge select mode para makita namin. Okay? Okay? Clear tayo, guys? So, ganyan dapat ang makikita namin for your screenshot submissions. And like I said, screenshots, plural, no? Dagdagan nyo yung screenshots. Dapat every angle may nakikita kami sa viewport nyo. Lahat, every angle sa viewport nyo, take 1. No? Screenshots nga, di ba? Screenshots, plural. Okay? Clear tayo doon so far? Are we clear on that? Are we clear on that, guys? Are we clear on that? Okay, so basically, activity 6, you have 3 outputs. Again, ang first output nyo is your interior design using the assets that you created for activities 4 and 5. And then output 2, ang kailangan nyo doon is a rendered 3D poster. And of course, screenshots ng viewport nyo. No? So basically, kuha lang kayo. No? Lahat po yan. So Windows Shift S, lahat. Ganyan na. No? Ganyan. Ganyan ang makuha namin. Dapat makita namin na screenshot. No? So ayun. Makita. Ba't ako wala? Dapat kayo ito makita namin. No? So ganyan dapat na makita namin. No? Multiple screenshots, guys. This is the poster to, poster to. I mean, this is just an example. No? This is just an example. Ginamit ko lang yung interior design, but yun ang dapat makita namin sa poster. For the interior, hindi na kailangan yun kasi lahat naman na yun nakita na namin sa activity 4 and 5. Yung screenshots is only for the 3D poster. Okay? So, ito yung sample ko. This is basically yung ito yung scene ko. No? Ito yung scene ko. So, there we go. This is my interior render. Ito, sample lang ito ng mga estudyante. Hindi ko na mahanap yung render din, pero isang sample yan na gusto ko nun. And then, this is your example of your 3D poster design. As I said sa instructions, guys, no Photoshop. Ang pwede nyo lang gawin sa Photoshop are the text. Text lang. Yung ito lang, no? Ito lang. 2D text lang. You are not allowed to change anything. You're not allowed to do color management. You're not allowed to color correct. Nothing. Okay? Ang pwede nyo lang gawin sa Photoshop is add text. That's it. Okay? Malalaman namin yan. No? So, there we go. So, yan. Pwede ganyan simple lang. Black Friday na poster. No? Or pwede ganyan. So, there we go. Those are your outputs na kailangan namin for your activity 6. Are we clear? Are we clear, everyone? Sir, for the poster, kahit anong topic ko. Yes, kahit anong topic, kayo bahala. No? Of course, make it appropriate. No? Wag, walang kalokohan. Okay? Appropriate topic. No? Pwedeng event, pwedeng original na event, pwedeng original na concept. Kayo bahala. No? So, yan. So, for example, Art Bash. Ito, Black Friday. ito, mga art design na events, no? Kayo bahala. Any other questions? Clear na ba tayo? Clear na? Sir, can we still improve our previous submissions po na isinama namin sa activity, na isasama namin sa activity number 6 since nagbigay po ng suggestion si Sir Joash? Yes, pwede niyong bigyan ng upgrades no, or improvements based on sa comments ni Sir Joash, okay? Pwede, pwede. Also, if you're going to be adding more pa, make a proper presentation, please. No, wag lang kayo biglang mag-a-add ng bagong assets na hindi namin nakita. I-explain nyo, bigyan nyo ng separate page na i-explain nyo na dinagdag nyo to, dinagdag ko yung ganon sa activity 6 nyo. Okay? Wag lang yung biglaan na lang kami may makikita, uy, wala naman kayong sinabit na ganon sa activity 4 and 5 nyo, saan ang galing yun? No? So, give them proper treatment. Okay? Bigyan nyo ng presentation, i-compile nyo sa PDF, no? But yun nga, ano siya. Okay? Any other questions? Sorry, Zone, a little bit. Yung poster po, after we finish it, we can edit it in Photoshop. The only editing that you can do sa Photoshop is add text, Yash. Yun lang yung pwede. No color correction, no color management, no nothing, no filters, no? The only thing that you are allowed to do in Photoshop is add text. That's it. No? Text lang pwede. All right. Any other questions? Basically, lahat ng nasa 3D poster design nyo, dapat lahat ginawa sa 3D software, either sa 3ds Max or sa Blender. Any other questions? Any other questions? None. Okay, I'm gonna be taking questions 1 more minute, no? And then I'll end the class. Any other questions? Questions? Also, guys, I would like to remind you, itong mga masisipag na 10, mabuti na dito pa kayo. No? Again, guys, everyone must be present sa midterms. Okay? Wala nga absent kasi I'm the one who will be approving your pitches before you can actually start your finals. Kailangan ma-approve ko muna yan, ma-discuss din natin yung mga ins and outs ng ideas nyo, ano yung mga faults, ano yung dapat mabago before you submit to the Dropbox para makita ni Sir Joash. Okay? So everyone will present. Okay? I-record ko rin yan as per the request of Sir Joash din. Okay? So everyone must be present. Whole day natin next week will be on midterms lang. Okay? So good luck na lang dun sa natitirang 10 na hindi pumapasok. So, kung di sila magsulpot, well, I'll be telling Sir Joash na lang. No? So, pasensyahan tayo doon. I'm trying hard not to be strict, but it is how it is, guys. Kapag ganyan yung konti lang kayo, you have to be strict. No? Walang sisihan kung bakit magtataka kayo, ba't mababa yung grade nyo. Remember, guys, I'm not the one grading you. Nire-report ko lang kay Sir Josh kung ano nangyayari per session, kung ilan yung pumapasok, kung ilan yung talagang active, tapos kung ilan yung mga nagsasubmit sa Dropbox, no? Sir Josh will handle all the grading, not me, okay? Even kahit ako din man, kahit ako mag-grade niyan, I will not tolerate yung hindi na nasulpot, no? So, kung at this point, no, tagal ko nang tinatantad ng emails yung mga hindi pumapasok. So, it's 3:26. Any other questions before I dismiss? Any other questions regarding midterms? Wala bang may tanong regarding midterms? Again, guys, kung hindi nyo fully understand yung PowerPoint, pwede nyo i-view yung recording, no? Iilan lang yung nag-view ng recording, no? As well as yung views no last meeting, no? Any other questions? Questions? Any other questions, guys? None? Okay, kung wala naman ng questions, I guess I can dismiss you na, no? Last na reminder ko na lang. Since definitely, if you're gonna be downloading yung ano nga natin, mga textures dun sa ating sa mga websites na yun, no? Yung MD6 and Polyhaven, instead of directly PMing me or Sir Joash, dito kayo magtanong, no? Like for example, Sir, saan ko kakabit yung gano'n na texture map? Saan ko kakabit si Nettleness? Saan ko kakabit si ambient occlusion? Please message it here, no? Para lahat makikita. Para lahat nakasagot na kaagad in case na they're wondering the exact same question pero hindi lang matanong. Okay? So, if you're gonna be asking questions regarding that, where to plug in certain textures, dito nyo kami i-message, okay? Dito namin sasagutin, okay? Clear tayo? Clear? Alright. Since clear na lahat and wala naman na kayong questions as of right now, I'm gonna let you go na guys. Class is dismissed. The recording will be uploaded later. So, have a good afternoon guys. Have a good afternoon. So, stop ko na yung recording.
Thank you po, sir.